Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com, and Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and you can find it on SoundCloud and on YouTube. And today I am pleased to welcome Karen McCall from moneygrit.com. And Karen went from dodging, oh my goodness, let me just hold this up. From dodging IRS, which is the tax people, calls to helping thousands of people get out of debt and build a life and business they love. Karen is the founder of the Financial Recovery Institute and the creator of the money management program, Money Grit. And it's trademarked. So there we go, people. It's got to be good. Karen has spent the last 30 years working with small business owners as she's seen many struggle with self-employment. She has worked with hundreds of solopreneurs and small business owners to help them build lucrative, successful businesses that are not only profitable, but feed their soul. And our topic today is how to create a business that feeds your soul and your wallet. Welcome, Karen. How are you?
I'm thrilled to be here, Rose. Thank you so much. It's lovely.
Yes, it is, and it's lovely that we can chat across the ocean, isn't it?
It is amazing. It's really changed, right? I mean, when I used to train people, they would have to fly out to California to do trainings, and now we can train and meet like this all over the world.
That's absolutely right. I think COVID's really done businesses a service, the ones that have adapted to being online. So yeah, that was one of the bonuses of the pandemic, I think. So your expertise will help business owners get clear on their finances and encourage them to take control of their expenses and start moving forward. So what can they do to achieve that aim?
Something that I think is the most important thing for a person to do in business is to develop a strong relationship with money. You know, being in charge of your own income, coming face to face with your unique relationship with earning and your deep feelings about money. Oh my gosh, I think that is really what business owners go through more than anyone else. If you get a paycheck, it's one thing, but all of a sudden you're in business and it's up to you to do it. And so anytime you discuss your rate, your fees, or you spend money, make a decision to, buy something through your business, you are always just coming face to face with your relationship with money. So what I have found, in fact, the other day, there was a woman in one of my webinars, and she said, oh my gosh, I've gotten so clear about money. And she had to negotiate her rent, her office rent. And she said for years, she's been afraid of this guy. He was kind of intimidating, being office guy. And she said, because I was so clear with my money, I had the best negotiation I've ever had. She was so empowered. And I think one of the big mistakes that business people make is, they have this passion, something that they want to do to make a difference in the world. And then they're in business, and all of a sudden it's like they come face to face with the relationship with money and their belief systems. And I find that quite often they end up in a lot of credit card debt because their focus is, if I just can learn to do a P&L or a balance sheet, I'll be fine. But it's just not that. It's so much more than that.
It absolutely is. Yes, I know. I've owned a small business some years ago, and relationship with money it's quite different in business than it is in actual in your personal life. You have to handle it differently. You have to treat it differently. It's like money's God in business, I think.
Yes. So, I like that. Money is God.
It is God. Yes. If you don't have it, you don't survive very long. So what do you believe is the most important thing a business owner can do to help their business to flourish?
I think that they have to really look at their relationship with money on 3 levels: the emotional, the practical, and the spiritual. And so what I mean by emotional is, it's important. One of the exercises that I would have people do that I worked with is to do a money autobiography, a work history autobiography. Look at your relationship with work, starting maybe as a teenager, whenever you started maybe, getting allowance or mowing lawns or babysitting or whatever. Look at your history, list every job you've ever had. And then how did you feel about what you were paid? How did you feel about what you did on the job? Was it something that was satisfying or was it very depleting? So, and then look at how you were paid and how you felt about how you were paid. And then how did you leave the job? So I have people do that. And one of the things that happens is they start seeing patterns that they bring into different jobs. A man did this once and he said, I've had 18 jobs since I graduated from college. And he said, I had no idea. And this is somebody who went through my money coach training. And so he was now going to be an entrepreneur. And he said he recognized that as soon as things kind of got intimate with people at work, he would find an excuse to leave and go to another job. So from an emotional standpoint, looking at your job history can be a really strong thing to do. And then from a practical standpoint, people have to do way more than just rear view mirror accounting. What most entrepreneurs do, they do their taxes once a year, and that may be the only time they look at their money. Or they might have a bookkeeper do it for them or an accountant, but it's all rear view mirror. It's all after the fact. And I believe, Rose, from the bottom of my heart, that what can transform your relationship with money is that if you start getting totally conscious and connected, but that you plan every month, you plan the year what you're going to spend. And so let's say we go into January, we do a spending plan for the month. And then when you track against that spending plan, you spend differently than what you planned. There's two things that can happen there. One, you're starting to see the consequences of, oh my gosh, I said I was only going to spend this, but I spent that. Start seeing those consequences. But also, one of the things it does is it will help a person to start seeing what some of the emotional components are. Maybe they had a really bad week and they felt emotional, so they bought another course, and they put it on their credit card. So planning and tracking against a plan is really, really important. And what I found when I was working with clients, at one point I had a private practice, and I would start people on their personal finances first doing that. And it was what I recognized. I started my business in 1988. I had my first client in February 2nd, 1989. And within 3 months, I recognized that this program I had created for people with their personal finances, we had to do the same thing for their business because they had this back door, right? It's a business expense. I can do this and that. So totally get their arms around their money, personal finances and business. So that's the practical. And then, there's a little more to the practical. So plan, track against your spending, and then evaluate, where you deviate from what your plan was. You ask yourself, did I deviate from my plan because, number one, I just guessed, I haven't ever tracked before, I don't really know what things cost. Number two, something came up that I could not have anticipated. When COVID hit, my husband and I were in Portugal and we had to pay $3,000 to fly back to the US. Couldn't plan that, right? Most things can be planned, but occasionally something came up that someone can't plan for. And then the third was that impulsive spending, like there's maybe something going on emotionally and it triggers a desire to feel different, and spending can make us feel different. So by using the numbers and the tracking and then evaluating it from that emotional standpoint, it will really start transforming a person's relationship with money. And then the third, which I think is the spiritual aspect, we all need some kind of purpose, right? You and I were talking before we started this podcast today, and we were talking about how much we really love helping people. And so often for entrepreneurs, they go into their business with that goal in mind, but they become so overwhelmed and burdened because of their relationship with money. They can't pay themselves, they can't do a paid vacation, and all of a sudden then they kind of lose that original motivation that started the whole thing. So that's what I feel. I think the number one predictor of a person's success with money is I mean, in their business, the number one predictor of their success in their business is their relationship with money. And on those 3 levels, want to make sure we're still absolutely doing what we love to do, that we haven't tarnished that. And we do that by getting really connected to our relationship with money, emotional and financial.
Okay, so having posed and evaluated your money on all those 3 levels, how can one then have a business that feeds your soul and your wallet at the same time?
Okay, so one of the things that I created back in 1988 was a paper and pencil system where people would do their spending plan, but also as they would do that, they were taking inventory of every category of their life. And so we're talking to business owners today. So as you go through and you start thinking about the different categories in your business, you want to be taking an inventory to see if you're doing without things that are really important. So if a person is in a lot of deprivation in their business, they're and I think that there's 3 things that contribute to deprivation. One is doing without things that are really important. If somebody has an online business like we do, we have to have a decent computer and good cameras and good lighting, good internet. So doing without things that are really important can impact a person. And then making do, it's like never feeling that you're really kind of up on the latest technology, or whatever your industry is, you're not up on the latest. You're just kind of cobbling things together. Nothing ever quite works right. Don't have any help, just totally overwhelmed. And then the 3rd thing that contributes to deprivation is overdoing. Just that person that is just busy, workaholic, working 24/7, not really getting any rest, not really making any progress. All 3 of those states contribute to a person's sense of deprivation. So what I have people do when they start working with their money is they have to identify what their needs are in their business. They really have to do an inventory. And when they decide to spend money, they have to spend it on their needs, not their wants. And so when a person does that, and they start, let me just back up for a second. So let's say that somebody has a belief system that they really don't deserve to be successful. They may not be aware that they have that belief system, but it's there. With all their greatest efforts, they still end up without enough money, working themselves to death, and they're always depleted in that state of deprivation. So let's say now they say, okay, I'm going to get really grounded. I'm going to stop just frittering my money away. I'm going to get grounded in my numbers. And I'm going to really look at what I need to have a thriving business. And so maybe it's, I need a new phone, or I need a new calculator. I mean, it can be little things. And as people start doing that, something happens inside where it's like, instead of not feeling that they deserve to be successful, they'll go, wow, that feels good to fill that need. Whoa, that starts feeling good to fill that need. And I tell you, it feels like woo-woo land when I say this, but it's not. I've seen this for over 30 years as people started learning to differentiate between wants and needs and really say, you deserve to have what you need in your life, and not be judged by anybody else. What you need may be different from somebody else. And when they're doing those needs roads, they also need to be thinking about what is their quality of life. If one of their needs is that they only work 4 days a week because they really need some time with family or just time to recuperate. But if their mind says, no, you can't have 4 days a week because you have to work harder because you're not making enough money, they have to make those changes. They have to look. And then when you do that, you really discover what you need to earn. So that's one of the first things. Once you tune in, what do you need? What does that look like? You do that in your plan. And then you now know what you need to earn, and your belief system is shifting that you deserve to earn it. And that is what changes for people. And when I wrote my last book, I sat down and I did my research, and I just went through client file after client file to see what brought people in, and almost everyone said something like, well, I want to improve my relationship with money. I want to become a grown-up with money. But what I also saw was, my gosh, almost every person I worked with where they were working this way in their business, they transformed their business. And so that is what I truly, truly believe. We want to, if we're depleted, we're not going to be happy. We're not going to do our best work. And if we believe that, no, there's no way you can create your ideal business. Oh, no, there's no way you could work 4 days a week or 3 days a week. But if a person starts taking care of their needs, pretty soon they start seeing, yeah, I can do that. And I'll just say one last thing about it. We have to know what we need to earn. And when a person sits down to do their plan for their month and for their year, you want to know, okay, I've done my spending plan. I need to earn X. Now they have something very concrete. Now, how am I going to do that? But so often it's just like a figure that they pull out of the sky, like, well, I need to earn this. But no, it needs to be grounded in reality. What do you need to pay yourself? What do you need to be able to save so you can take paid vacations? What if you're sick and you want to take off? You want to treat yourself like an employer would, in that you get to pay yourself for these things. I could just tell you so many stories. I remember this one photographer I worked with in San Francisco, and he just was always under earning, just never earning enough, always struggling. And so we did his annual plan, and he saw what he needed to earn. He had never done anything like that. He'd been in business for 10 years. And all of a sudden he went, oh my gosh, that's only 2 more gigs. 2 more gigs a month. And I could do that. Now he had something concrete to set up for marketing, and it changed his life. So I could tell you 100 stories like that.
I'm sure you can. I mean, the relationship with money and people's belief systems around that is what makes positive or negative in anyone's business, or personal life for that matter. You've got to have that positive relationship with money, I think, and you're right about the budgeting and the planning and whatever. I think as business owners, we're guilty of putting that part of our business on the back burner because it doesn't seem that important. But having listened to what you've had to say, I think I might take a little bit more notice of my finances and get them sorted and start doing a plan every month to see, where I'm actually overspending and try and get rid of the things that I'm not really needing, but I've paid for them because I want them. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, and we want to get to the place where we can spend on some of the wants and desires too. But so often when we want to change our feelings, we're feeling depleted, deprived, tired. We don't think, well, what do I need? We think, what's going to give me the biggest hit? Right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's what we want. And it's the same way if you watch a little kid who's been eating sugar all day. You can give them more sugar, but it's never going to work. They're going to just be bouncing off of the walls. They need nutrition. Their body needs something. So if we can get focused on that, and oh my gosh, the saying, if you think you can succeed or if you think you won't succeed, you'll be right.
Yeah. And
the problem, and I know I went through this, down deep, if I did not believe that I deserved to have a successful business, I never would. And so, it took a lot of work over the years. I mean, there were times I felt I was just barely ahead of my clients. But this process has stood the test of time for over 30 years. And so I think it's so important for anybody struggling with money to not just talk about it. You
have to do something. You've got to be positive.
The mindset.
Yeah.
Got to get into the numbers.
You have to do the work. Definitely have to do the work. Okay, so what is your no, let me start that again. What are some of the beliefs about money that can hinder a person's ability to create the business that they really want?
Some of the beliefs are, another process that I have people go through is doing a money autobiography, looking at how they develop their belief systems and attitudes about money. So starting with early childhood, and then going up through the teenage years and young adulthood, and then up to present day. And quite often what people will see are patterns where they weren't even aware that what they really believed was, let's say somebody grew up in a family where their needs were really not important. So, that they definitely are not going to think, well, my parents are really bad parents. They didn't meet my needs. No, little kids don't blame their parents. They think there's something wrong with them. So we start internalizing these things really, really young. The other thing that I think of is quite often there's these family messages that may not even be spoken out loud, but they may they're tacit messages, but you may as well, it's like they're just in big bold letters, where you cannot be more successful than mom or dad, or you need to be more successful because you need to save the family, so there can be all kinds of things. And then the way that will translate is, I better work hard and make money. I'm responsible for taking care of my family. But what I've seen more than that are the people who felt they couldn't outdo their mother, who didn't have her dreams, or their father. And quite often it's the same sex child, that if it's a man, he will, have this relationship more with his father, and the woman will have this relationship more with her mother. And some of the money coaches I've trained have struggled with that. They go, if my business goes to the next level, my mom has worked for 30 years and I'm going to be making more money than she is. That can be really hard for people to break the family rules, the unspoken rules. So I think that one of the ways for people to discover what are their emotional components, some people, it's just hard to be visible in the world. And maybe growing up, it wasn't safe to be visible, or maybe you were criticized, or told, hey, you're a show off, or that type of thing. Well, if somebody internalized that feeling you're a show off, if you're going to be visible, it's going to be very hard for a business owner to market their business and to network, because their belief is you don't deserve that. So, this belief that I don't deserve, I would say that is probably, if we want to boil it down to one word, I would say that people do not feel worthy, that they deserve.
I can relate to that totally.
So that thing I was talking about earlier about the deprivation, if we can start going, no, you deserve to have your needs met. You deserve to have a business that functions well. You deserve to have support in your business. It starts changing things for people internally. And that's a wonderful thing to see. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to see.
Well, I love the story that you told me about your husband. Would you mind sharing that again on camera?
Okay, and what did I share? Okay.
He was in law, and he was a lawyer. Well, he is a lawyer.
Yes.
But yes, I would love if you would share that, because that just shows about how people can. It's not necessary. It's not a money thing, but it's how people can change their life because they've actually found something that they love doing.
My husband doesn't mind me talking about him at all. So we've been together about 35 years, and my husband is a lawyer who hated his work. He was never meant to be a lawyer. But again, his mother and his first wife thought that would be a good thing for him to do, right? So, but he always hated it. And so a couple of years ago, we decided that he was going to quit. And he was going to work with me on my business, and we were going to travel the world for 3 years and still work, but we would work as partners. And we're getting ready to launch our new program this week. And so he came out of the office the other day and he said, I've never worked as hard as I'm working now, but I absolutely love it. And he loves the feeling of being a part of a team where we care about making a difference in people's lives. And he is a different person. He's absolutely a different person. I wish he would have done it years and years ago, right? But, you get stuck. And hey, if you go to school to become a lawyer, you've got to be a lawyer forever, right?
Yeah, it's just I like the part where you said that he's looking so much younger now because he's so much happier than what he was being a lawyer. Yeah, that's good, and that just shows that what makes you happy, what fills your heart with love or fills your heart with satisfaction or whatever. It can even make you look young. So there you go, people. Listen to that. If you're feeling a bit old, do what you love and it'll make you look younger.
Absolutely, yes. I was telling you that I'm 77 and I'm married to a man 70, and people used to think he was older than me. That's right. I remember the story now. And then when we started working together, he loves it. He feels he's working harder than ever in a way, but that he's just so much happier. And now he looks 10 years younger. He really, truly does. And he's very cute too.
Oh, of course he is. And so finally, Karen, how can I personally plan when I don't know what I'm going to earn?
How can you plan when you don't know when you're going to earn? That is the most wonderful question. And it is the main objection that people who come to money coaching, it's one of the main objections they have if they're a business owner. Well, we say, hey, we're going to do a spending plan. How can I plan when I don't know what I'm going to earn? What I say is it's more important than ever to start planning, because a couple of examples. Even if people are running it in their head, they have an idea of what they're going to earn that month, right? So I'll give you an example of contractors. I've worked with a lot of contractors and they say, well, I'm going to bring in X amount this month. So we say, okay, well, let's put this down. So one job is going to be the Smith job. And how much are you going to get on that? And this is going to be the Jones job and how much? And so they have these figures they put down. It looks like they're going to make a lot of money. And then I will say, so what is the real chance of this amount coming in? Have you invoiced them yet? Yeah, no, I actually have a lot of work to do before I can invoice them. So it's saying what we're telling ourselves to start putting down on paper and see. So we want to really put work into what we think we could do. And then as we track against it, like tracking against our spending, we see if we're on track to earn what we say. And remember, if we're doing a plan, we know what we need to earn, right? So then a business owner can really start to be successful in business. You've got to know what you need to earn, what you want to earn, and then you've got to have a plan for how you're going to do it. So if you plan and you're tracking against, you can ask those same 3 questions. I thought I was going to bring in this amount this month from these different clients, and what I'm bringing in is this amount. Okay, is it higher or is it lower? And if it's not what you planned, is it because you're just not grounded in the planning? And you plan it, but then you don't do the footwork to bill. And then if you bill, do you actually get paid? Do you have follow-up? A lot of business owners who don't believe they deserve, they just don't get their billing done. They don't have strong boundaries with their clients about getting paid. So they have work to do around that to start going, no, I'm going to have strong business terms. I'm going to be very grounded in whether I've invoiced. And then if I've invoiced and I've given them a 10-day to pay me, what happens in 10 days is it not there? Am I going to follow up? So planning is key. Planning your expenses so you know what you need to earn. You find out that number, then you have to have a plan for how you're going to bring that in. And there's one more thing that I will add that is unique in my process, and that is when you do the initial plan, if there's changes throughout the month, like you're earning less than you thought or earning more or spending less or spending more, rather than going back and erasing the initial amount, which most programs have, you want to do an adjustment so that you can see, I said this, but I did this. But if you just adjust the number, then you miss that piece where I said this, but I did this, it'll be gone. And that's where you get to know yourself and get to start connecting the behaviors and the thought processes to the consequences of what you said you were going to do. I said I was going to do this, I did this, bad consequences. I said I was going to do this, I did this, good consequences. And so we start growing up around, and I'll say it another way. This is something I'll say in training. Unhealthy thinkers split off the consequences from their action. Like, credit cards are a great way for a person to do that, right? 2 of our motivators are pain and pleasure. So if I'm going to buy something or do something, I'm going to get pleasure. But if we have to pay for it, there's pain. So many unhealthy things, they split off the pain and pleasure. So what healthy thinkers do, and sometimes it's a thought process, sometimes it's a long process as they're evaluating things, but they're able to look at what they want to do and what they actually do, and they can see the consequence. They make the right decision because they connect it all in one thought process. That's where we want to get to. But usually people who struggle with money and struggle in their business, there is a disconnect between their thought process, their behaviors, and what actually happens.
So you touched on your book. What is the book called and where is it available?
I have a book. I wrote it a few years ago, and it's called Financial Recovery, Developing a Healthy Relationship with Money. And you can buy it at you can order it from Amazon. You can have a bookstore order it. You can have your library order it.
Cool. And you were talking about launching a new program tomorrow. So would you like to tell us about that?
Oh, I would love to tell you about it. When I started my business, I had a program called Money Minder, and that was paper and pencil, doing the plan, everything we're talking about today. And then in 2013, we launched it as a web-based program, but it's really been dated in the last 7 years. So we're launching Money Grit. It's called Money Grit . And it's launching on January 1st. And everything that I described in this process, believe me, I would have never gone into the software business if I could have found a software program that would accomplish the things we were talking about today. You know, the plan, the adjustment process, seeing the consequences, having a wants and needs section. So I've built all that into software, and it's called Money Grit . And so we are so thrilled to be launching it. It's all the latest technology, but it has all of the psychological and emotional stuff built into it. And so, yeah, thank you. I'm so excited.
And so where is it launching?
moneygrit.com.
So you go to there and you can find it on there on January. So that'll be tomorrow here in Australia. So in 2 days' time for you. Yay.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll have to go and have a look.
Pardon me?
I'll have to go and have a look.
Oh, please do. Absolutely. Please do. Yeah. And we're going to have, one of the things is we give a lot of support. We have a lot of webinars and videos and things to really help people get started. So we really care and want people to be successful. And so this was like my last big thing I'm doing, it's like at 77, it's like I just wanted to bring this to the world, the kind of culmination of my 30 years work, and really make it available to people. And so it is a subscription. It's either an annual subscription or a monthly subscription.
Wonderful business. Oh, Karen, I'm so excited for you. And yeah, I will go and check that out in the new year and see what's going to happen. Yes, you've got something else?
Let me tell you one more thing. Yes, I have a free thing that I do once a month for an hour and a half.
Yes.
It's called Monthly Money Monday. And I have a lot of guest speakers too. And it's just a way for me to give back. It's the first Monday of every month. So that's probably your Tuesday. But it's the first Monday of every month at 1 o'clock Pacific time. And you can find that on my website, financialrecovery.com. And it's Monthly Money Monday. And it's just, like I said, it's totally free. And if people can't make the webinar, then they can get the recording. And it's just a way for, and then there's a Facebook group attached so people can get support throughout the month. So this is just something I started doing a few years ago, and I just love it. And we have people from all over. We have a pretty large group, so it's really cool.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's great. All right. Well, Karen, thank you. You have been so very insightful today, and I'm pretty sure that if someone can get value from that, then they have their head stuck in the sand.
Well, thank you very much. It has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed your podcast, and it's just a pleasure to be here with you today.
Oh, thanks, Karen. All right. You have a happy new year.
Yeah. Happy New Year to you and all the listeners. All right.